Little Johnny's mother is in the shower when he goes in and says, "What's that in between her legs?" His mother claims it's her keyhole. Little Johnny sees his father having a shower the next day and asks the same question. His dad responds that it is his key. Little Johnny tells his father the next day that it appears that the neighbor has the key to Mommy's keyhole as well. A blonde goes to the doctor with both of her ears and her right hand burned. "Sit down and tell me how it happened," says the doctor. "I was ironing my clothes when I received a call. Instead of picking up the phone, I picked up the iron and burned my ear." "What about the other ear and your hand?" "I tried to call for an ambulance." A little boy hears noises coming from his mom and dad's room every night. So one night, he takes a peek to see what it is. He does this for a bit, then says to his mum, "I keep hearing noises from yours and Daddy's room, so I have a look to see what you're doing. Why do jump on Daddy?" The mum replies, "To make Daddy slim." But then the boy replies, "You're wasting your time, because when you go to work, the lady from next door comes and blows him back up." Three strangers are sitting at a restaurant quietly. One of the men goes to the bathroom, and the two remaining men start to talk. "How's life?" The other man says, "Pretty good. I just got promoted and bought my girlfriend a Mercedes. How about you?" The other man replies, "No complaints. Me and my girlfriend just got a house down in California." The third man comes back from the bathroom with a grin on his face. The other men ask him why he is so happy, and he says, "My girlfriend just called me and said she is taking me to California for the weekend in her new Mercedes." While on a road trip, an elderly couple decided to stop at a roadside diner for lunch. After finishing their meal, they got back in the car and resumed their journey. It wasn't until they had been driving for about 40 minutes that the elderly woman realized she had left her glasses on the table at the diner. She informed her husband, and to their frustration, they had to drive quite a distance before they could find a place to turn around. As they headed back to the diner to retrieve the glasses, the elderly husband transformed into the quintessential grouchy old man. He fussed, complained, and scolded his wife non-stop during the entire drive back. The more he griped, the more agitated he became, refusing to let up for even a moment. Finally, to the elderly woman's relief, they arrived back at the diner. She quickly got out of the car and hurried inside to retrieve her glasses. Just as she was about to enter, the old man rolled down his window and called out, "While you're in there, you might as well grab my hat and the credit card." There was a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead. They were in church until they released a pool of water. So they asked the vicar, "What is that for?" The vicar said, "Go do something bad, then come back." So they did and came back the next day, and they asked, "Why did we have to so that?" The vicar answered, "When you do something bad, you come and drink the holy water to be forgiven and clean." The redhead said, "I ran over a cat and then drank the holy water." The brunette said, "I robbed a bank and drank the holy water." The blonde stared at them, and then the vicar asked, "What bad deed did you do?" And the blonde said, "I peed in the holy water." One morning at a doctor's surgery, a patient arrives complaining of serious back pain. The doctor examines him and asks him, "Okay, what happened to your back?" The patient replies, "You know that I work for a local nightclub?" This morning I got home to my apartment early and heard a noise in my bedroom. On entering, I knew someone had been with my wife, and the balcony door was open. I rushed out the balcony door and did not find anyone. As I looked down from the balcony, I saw a man running out, and he was dressing himself. He grabbed the fridge and threw it at him. That's how I strained my back. The second patient arrives looking as if he has been in a car wreck. The doctor said, "My previous patient looked bad, but you look terrible. What the happened to you?" He replied, "You know I have been unemployed for a while now. Today was the first day at my new job. I forgot to set my alarm and was running late. I was running out of the building, getting dressed at the same time, and you won't believe it, but I was hit by a fridge." The third patient arrives. He looks even worse than the other two patients do. The doctor is shocked. Again asks, "What the happened to you?" "Well, I was sitting in a fridge and someone threw it from the third floor." A husband exclaims to his wife one day, "Your butt is getting really big. It's bigger than the BBQ grill." Later that night in bed, the husband makes some advances towards his wife, who completely brushes him off. "What's wrong?" he asks. She answers, "Do you really think I'm going to fire up this big-ass grill for one little weenie?" There are two old men sat on the bench, and one man asks the other, "How are you?" And the man starts complaining, "I'm aching all over. My joints are aching. I have a bad cough. Things really aren't looking up. Anyway, enough about me. How are you?" The other man replies, "Brilliant. I have no hair, like a baby. I have no teeth like a baby. And I just pissed myself." Little Johnny desperately needed to go to the toilet. He asked the teacher, "Miss, can I go to the toilet?" She replied, "Not until you say your alphabet." He said, "But I really need to go, miss." But she still said, "Not until you say your alphabet." So little Johnny began reciting, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, Q, R, S, T, U, V, U, X, Y, Z. The teacher said, "That's very good, but where's your P?" "Halfway down my trousers, miss." A family is driving on holiday when a frog crosses the road. The husband, who is driving, manages to stop the car in time. He gets out, picks up the frog, and moves it to the side of the road. The frog thanks the man and says, "I will grant you one wish." The man thinks for a moment and says, "Please make my dog win the next dog race." The frog asks to see the dog. The man opens the car door, and out limps a three-legged, overweight dog that can barely move. The frog looks at the dog and says, "I'm afraid your wish is nearly impossible. Can you make another wish instead?" The man thinks again and says, "Okay, then please make my wife win the next beauty contest." The frog asks the man to have his wife step out of the car. She gets out and approaches the frog. The frog looks at the wife, then turns back to the man and says, "Could I please take another look at the dog?" A blonde struggling with her weight visits her doctor, who prescribes her a diet. "I want you to eat normally for 2 days, then skip a day, and repeat the pattern for 2 weeks. By the time I see you again, you should lose at least 5 pounds, the doctor advises. 2 weeks later, the blonde returns, having shed nearly 20 pounds. "Amazing," the doctor exclaims. "Did you stick to the plan?" The blonde nods enthusiastically. "I did, but I thought I was going to drop dead by the 3rd day." "From hunger?" asks the doctor. "No," she replies. "From all the skipping." A girl is at a man's house after accepting payment. The man is in the bathroom taking a shower when the woman realizes she is on her period. She already accepted payment and the man is attractive. So she decides to turn the lights off and leave early in the morning. They have some wild drunk sex and the woman leaves early in the morning. When the guy wakes up, he sees a pool of blood next to him in the bed. I must have shot her, he thinks to himself. But when he checks his gun, it hasn't been shot. Then he thinks, I must have stabbed her. But when he checks the knives in the kitchen, there is not blood. At this point, he goes to the bathroom and looks up at himself in the mirror. Oh no, I ate her. A guy was sending dirty photos to his girlfriend, but he accidentally sent a photo of his bottom half to his grandma. She had bad sight, so he didn't think much of it. Later that week, she calls him and says, You're looking good, but I don't like your haircut. It makes your nose look too big. Little Johnny is sitting in a biology class, and the teacher says that an interesting phenomenon of nature is that only humans stutter. No other animal in the world does this. Johnny's hand shoots up. Not correct, miss, he says. Please explain, Johnny, replies the teacher. Well, miss, the other day I was playing with my cat on the veranda. The neighbour's Great Dane came around the corner and my cat went and before he could say off, the dog ate him. A man in a restaurant sees an extremely attractive woman sitting alone, so he decides to send her a nice bottle of wine. The waiter brings the wine to the lady. The lady looks at the bottle for a moment and sends a message back to the man. It reads, For me to accept this bottle of wine, you must have a Mercedes in your garage, a few $1 million in your bank, and 7 inches in your pants. He reads the message, laughs, and sends back one of his own. Just send it back. I have a Ferrari, Mercedes, and a Corvette. I have 20 million in the bank and a house in Aspen, Louisiana, and Miami. But I will never cut 3 inches off for any woman. Bob was in trouble. He forgot his wedding anniversary. His wife was really pissed. She told him, Tomorrow morning I expect to find a gift in the driveway that goes from 0 to 200 in 6 seconds, and it better be there. The next morning, he got up early and left for work. When his wife woke up, she looked out the window, and sure enough, there was a box gift-wrapped in the middle of the driveway. Confused, the wife put on her robe and ran out to the driveway, brought the box back in the house. She opened it and found a brand new bathroom scale. Bob has been missing since Friday. There was a baby born in the hospital, and he weighed 10 pounds. The odd thing about him was his body weighed 5 pounds, and his balls weighed 5 pounds. All the nurses and even the doctor didn't know what to do with him. Then the chief surgeon walked in and asked what was wrong. The head nurse replied, We don't know what to do with this baby. So the chief surgeon took one look and said, You should put him into a mental institution. Why? Asked the head nurse. Well, replied the chief surgeon, take a look at him. The boy is obviously half nuts. One day, the wife returned home from a doctor's visit and nervously walked into the living room where her husband was sitting. She fidgeted for a moment, glancing around the room before she finally mustered up the courage to speak. "Honey, can I tell you something?" she asked. The husband said, "Of course, sweetheart. What's going on?" The wife bit her lip, hesitating again. "Promise me you won't get mad," she said, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. The husband, now a little concerned but still calm, replied, "Why would I get mad? You know you can tell me anything. Just spit it out." She took a deep breath and shifted on her feet. "And you won't yell. I don't want you to yell at me," she added, as if bracing for something serious. The husband, now smiling wider, said with a chuckle, "Oh, yell? Why would I yell? You're making me nervous. Come on, just say it." The wife, still looking nervous, finally blurted out, "I'm pregnant." The husband's eyes went wide for a second before breaking into a huge grin. "That's fantastic news. I can't believe it. We're going to have a baby," he exclaimed, standing up to hug her. But as he pulled her into a tight embrace, he noticed she wasn't smiling as much as he was. She seemed hesitant. He gently pushed her back to look at her face. "Wait a minute. Why were you so scared to tell me? This is amazing news. Why would I be mad?" The wife glanced down and sighed. "Well, when I told my dad I was pregnant back in college, he was so mad I got into huge trouble." A blind man walks into a bar, taps the man next him, and says, "Hey, wanna hear a blonde joke?" The man says back to the blind man, "Look, buddy, I'm blonde. The man behind me is a 400-pound professional wrestler, and he is blonde. The bouncer is blonde. The man sitting over to your left is also blonde. Still wanna tell that blonde joke?" The blind man is silent for a moment and then says, "Nah, I wouldn't want to have to explain it 5 times. A recent biology graduate was struggling to find a job. One day, he saw an advertisement in the newspaper for a position at a zoo. During the interview, the manager explained that their gorilla, which had been a popular attraction, had passed away. They needed someone to dress up as a gorilla to keep the tourists entertained. Though a bit embarrassed, the graduate agreed, especially since the salary was decent. On his first day, he donned the gorilla costume and jumped around the cage, beating his chest and roaring like a gorilla. The next day, he put on the suit again and, while wandering around the zoo, accidentally wandered into the lion's enclosure. The lion let out a deafening roar and charged towards him. Panicked, the graduate forgot that he was supposed to be a gorilla and started shouting, "Help! Help!" The lion leapt onto him, knocked him to the ground, and whispered in his ear, "Dennis, it's me, Mike, your course mate." The graduate, still in shock, realized that not only was there no job security in this country, but the crocodile in the nearby water wasn't really a crocodile either. It was actually John from his university. A old man is walking down the street when he sees a beautiful young woman in a dress walking towards him. As he approaches her, a gust of wind blows her skirt up over her head. Frantically, she pushes the fabric back down into place and turns a little red from embarrassment. Not wanting to cause further distress and hoping to make light of the situation, the old man calls out, "Airy, ain't it?" Angry, the woman yells back, "What did you expect? Feathers!" One morning, a blind bunny was happily hopping down the bunny trail when he suddenly tripped over something large and fell, kerplop, right on his twitchy little nose. "Oh, I'm so sorry," said the bunny. I didn't mean to trip over you, but I'm blind and can't see. That's perfectly all right, replied the voice of a snake. It was my fault too. I'm blind as well, so I didn't see you coming. By the way, what kind of animal are you? Well, I'm not really sure, said the bunny. I've been blind my whole life and have never seen myself. Maybe you could feel me and tell me what I am. The snake agreed, and he gently felt the bunny all over. Well, the snake said, you're soft and cuddly, with long silky ears, a fluffy little tail, and an adorable twitchy nose. You must be a bunny rabbit? The bunny beamed with happiness. Thank you so much. But what about you? What kind of animal are you? The snake paused for a moment, then said, I've never known either. Maybe you could feel me and find out? The bunny agreed and carefully felt the snake from head to tail. After a moment of thought, the bunny replied, Well, you're cold, you're slippery, and you have no balls. You must be a politician. One day, a police officer was patrolling a street when he noticed an old woman struggling with two large bags. One of the bags had a tear, and $20 bills were spilling out onto the pavement. Curious, the officer approached her and said, Excuse me, ma'am, how did you come by all this money? You didn't rob a bank, did you? The old woman chuckled and replied, Oh, no, dear. You see, I live next to a golf course, and I got fed up with golfers peeing through my fence. So whenever I saw one of them sticking his dirty bits through the fence, I'd grab my biggest pair of hedge clippers, hold them up to his willy, and say, Give me $20 or I'm chopping it off. That's how I've ended up with a bag full of money. Amused, the police officer couldn't help but laugh. Well, they certainly had that coming. But what's in the other bag? The old woman grinned mischievously and said, Not everyone pays. One day, a little girl came running into her house, yelling, Mommy, I got $5. The mother was curious, so she asked her child where she got the $5 from. The little girl replied, Tommy down the street gave me $5 for doing cartwheel while he sat in the tree. The mother told her daughter, Don't you know that Tommy is just trying to see your pants? Oh, said the little girl. The next day, the little girl came running into the house, yelling, Mommy, I got $10. The mother asked, Where did you get the $10 from? The little girl replied, Tommy down the street gave me $10 for doing a cartwheel while he sat up in the tree and laughed. The mother replied, Didn't I tell you that he is? Before the mother could finish, the little girl said, Wait, Mommy, I tricked him. I didn't wear any days. Oh. When little Johnny returned home from school, he discovered the family's beloved rooster had died in the front yard. It was flat on its back, with its legs in the air, suffering from rigor mortis. When his father returned home, he said, Little Johnny, Dad, our rooster is dead, and his legs are sticking in the air. Why are his legs like that? Father, Son, that's so God can reach down from the clouds and lift the rooster straight up to heaven. Little Johnny, Gee, Dad, that's great. A few days later, when Dad came home from work, Billy rushed out to meet him, yelling, Little Johnny, Dad, we almost lost Mom today. Father, What do you mean? Little Johnny, Well, Dad, I got home from school early today and went up to your bedroom, and there was Mom, flat on her back with her legs in the air, screaming, Jesus, I'm coming, I'm coming. If it hadn't been for Uncle George holding her down, we'd have lost her for sure. An old man is sitting on his porch and sees a young boy walking by with some chicken wire. He yells to him, What are you doing, boy? The boy replies, I'm gonna catch me some chickens. The man replies, I don't think it works that way. A few hours later, the boy walks by again, with a ton of chickens strung along the wire. The next day, the boy walks by with a roll of duct tape, and the old man yells to him, What are you doing? The boy replies, I'm going to get some ducks. The old man yells back, I don't think that's how it works. But sure enough, he walks by a few hours later with a ton of ducks. The next day, the boy walks by the old man's house with a stick with a fuzzy thing at the end. The old man yells to him, What do you have there? The boy yells back, I've got some puss willow. The old man yells back, Wait, let me get my shoes.